Hello everyone, I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order Tuesday, May 3rd at 6 o'clock p.m. Members from the committee present are myself and Mike Zurin. Kim Evers is absent and excused. From other members from council present are Dave Spotten, Jason Kasunik, John Myers, and Laura DePledge. From the administration, we have Mayor Morley and our law director, Mr. Clammer. We are recording this meeting. If there's anybody else in the audience here who's recording, please state your name.
Angelo Trevisano.
Thank you. Okay, we have one item on the agenda this evening, and that is to discuss the petition proposals on bids for Central Park. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our law director, Mr. Clammer, because he did meet last week, and if he wants to give us more additional information in regards to that meeting.
Yeah, we did, we had the first meeting with the Croatian Center and with Marco from the Croatian Center, Mazar, I think his last name is, and Mr. and Mrs. Trevisano, and the big fellow.
Byron,
I think it's Floyd.
Byron Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a nice meeting, productive. We exchanged, had various discussions and discussed concerns and, I don't want to say criticisms, concerns, and compliments about the two respective proposals, and if we could find some synergies between them. I think we followed up, was it end of last week, we did it again?
Thursday, or I believe Thursday,
Yeah, to try to walk through a little further with the neighbors that had some interest in developing some baseball fields there and possibly bringing a softball league to that property. So we had some follow-up there. All along, I've been trying to kind of focus in on what ultimately the concerns were, and so I tried to then take that lease again and incorporate some additional comments. I'm not sure that I got the impression that a lot of the concerns that the representatives of the city had were alleviated at last week's meeting. So I then did the best I could to continue to try to find some accommodation to make sure that the neighbors' needs are met, and at the same time respect the fact that because of the juxtaposition of the Croatian Center Plaza and the passion for the sport and already the credibility they have with that sport, try to find some accommodation for that property as well to improve that program that they have. So they made some changes to the proposed lease, just emphasizing that there'll be some ongoing efforts to have some preseason discussions to make sure that the City of Eastlake Soccer League can have some involvement in planning. And you'll find that in subsection 9BA incorporated good faith efforts to include preseason coordinating conference with the youth soccer leagues to try to find a way for the city leagues to play on those fields as well as best as we can, while also accommodating the investment that the Croatian Center has in that property. And then some other points, and we had some follow-up. I think Mr. Spotten had some other comments, and then we tried to incorporate those in there as well. But all in all, we tried to continue to find some accommodation in here that that tries to appreciate and recognize everybody's respective needs and improve a property at little or no cost to the city residents. I think that's ultimately our goal. But any questions you want to answer?
Okay, council or committee, Mr. Zurin, do you have any comments or questions that you had?
I had a few concerns about the lease for with the ACL, and Mr. Clammer addressed those, and he sent over an updated lease. My first concern was I wanted to put the city in the best possible situation. There was section 8, subset B, which was first right of refusal, and that has been changed to clearly state if the property is sold, the ACL does have the first right of refusal, but it is at whatever price the city negotiates. So it's they would have to pay whatever the highest offer would be.
And I changed it slightly just to say this said sale shall be upon in terms and at the price the landlord determines in the best interest of the city. We have ordinances that exempt us from competitive bidding for that type of project, so we would have some flexibility in there to determine the best price. That's why I used that.
Okay. And then I did have a concern with which you've already addressed, section 9, subset B. It talked about working with the other youth soccer leagues, and that was one of my concerns, but that is that's been added to the contract. And also, I had a concern with section 5,
Just so you know,
subsection
that reference to preseason coordinating conference,
C. Mhm.
I created that conference, so I'm not sure that any such preseason coordinating conference exists elsewhere, but, so that's kind of what I described it as for purposes of the lease.
Okay, and the last area was section 5, subset C. I was concerned if, when the lease is terminated, that the city would not be subject to any expenses to remove any improvements, and that has been added to the contract also, that the tenant, the ACL, would have to remove any improvements if we deem that necessary.
And I have not forwarded this to the attorney for the Croatian Center for review, just that I suspect he's gonna say, well, I can't invest any more review until I'm sure the city wants to do it, so obviously this would be subject to sending it off to them for their approval as well.
Those are my concerns, and they were all addressed, and I feel that the city is better protected.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Anybody else on council or committees? Any other questions?
Just, as council
Mr.
president.
Pledge?
I'm sorry. Oh, you're right, good time. Just as council president, I just want to make sure that everybody on council had an opportunity to review both proposals. And if anybody has any questions regarding any of the proposals, if you don't want to ask them now, if you didn't get an answer, or if you need more information. But is everybody satisfied that they've had ample opportunity to review both proposals? That's it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, before we make any movement on this, we'll go into our recognition of the public. There'll be a half-hour total, 3 minutes per person. Is there anybody in the public who would like additional information to provide to us? State your name.
Angelo Trevisano, 34186 Waldemar Drive. My first comment I'd like to make is it sounds like there have been some questions from members of council about the terms of this lease. I haven't personally seen any of the new terms of this lease, and I strongly urge you to keep this lease in the committee until a final lease is drafted. I don't think that you should move something to council that hasn't been fully considered and fleshed out. Because I know the residents, we had no idea that there were going to be changes to this lease, and it sounds like there were substantial changes made. I think you should keep it in this committee until the residents have an opportunity to review the lease and ask additional questions, because it sounds like more should be expected. My second point is Central Park is currently a public park. Once this lease is passed, is it still a public park?
Yes.
It's still a public park, okay. And then the second one, the law director mentioned that there were some exemptions to state law regarding the competitive bidding process. A question was asked by a resident, and I had asked my own questions about this. Could anyone please go on the record for me now and explain how competitive bidding is not required for the lease of public property in accordance with the charter and state law? Thank you.
So I think we've just done it before, and the analysis is not always as simple as everybody wants it to be. But the point and the principle of having home rule is that cities have the authority to make the decision for the properties that they control, where they are a chartered municipality like the city, such that if they determine in all sorts of incidents that statutes that would apply to cities that aren't home rule because their residents haven't elected a charter. The charter is our constitution, and we've elected to be a home rule municipality. And the reality is there's all sort of ordinances that allow the city to make this determination, determine how it's going to use its property in the best interest, especially in a situation where it's now been since October. It's been in committee before it went to council. It was held for 3 readings in council. It was considered at each one of those meetings in council as a whole, then at the full council meeting. Then there was an additional meeting between Mr. Trevisano and Mrs. Trevisano in the Croatian Center that lasted 2.5 hours, where we discussed everything, including the Croatian Center offering to help them understand their budget and what it would take to run a park on their terms. There is conflicting information as to whether the softball league that they would want to bring could ever come to the city to provide them the revenue source that they think they need to be good stewards of the land that they want to control as opposed to the Croatian Center wants to control. As a courtesy, because everybody is trying to be fair, because it's not a competition between the city and the Trevisanos, we want to make sure that we're doing everything that's right for the residents and for this property. It went back into committee, the additional meeting was had with the Croatian Center. It stayed in committee for one committee meeting, and an additional meeting was had to flush out all these concerns, just because the budget, to try to do what they want to do, is so very complicated and important. I think at this point, I sense from the council folks that not all of the concerns have been eliminated. The issue was ultimately the Croatian Center wanted their control over the property for a limited period of time to respect their investment. And the Trevisanos want to control the property for their limited period of time with less confidence in the investment. And I don't mean that as a slight, but that ultimately is the city's concern. It was held in committee, we're back for another committee again. We've tried again to address the concerns that everybody has raised in a revised lease, and now we want to hold it back in the committee again to do that. And then if more concerns are brought up when we try to make revisions, then we're going to try to hold it back at that point. But it's now prepared to move forward. I think we've addressed these things. If there's going to be a lawsuit, then so be it. I'm prepared to defend what the city has done as fully vetted, complete public information to every resident in the city back to October, despite the threats or the thoughts that there would be some other person prepared to come bid on this property. Nobody has come forward. It was publicly noticed, as every city meeting is publicly noticed throughout the city. The minutes are published as the city published them, as well as the Trevisanos putting them on their website. And now we stand 5 months later, and we're exactly where we were when we started. So I'm fully confident that what the city has done is in the best interest of the taxpayers of the city, of the taxpayers of the city of Eastlake, to bring to the city an improved piece of property at little or no cost to the taxpayers, as opposed to fighting over it. I think council has the right to move forward if they want to.
Mr. Trevisano, I know you probably had about another minute or so. Did you have anything else you'd like to add?
My final question was, can anyone explain why $50,000 is currently allocated to the Recreation and Land Acquisition Fund? And I wonder why that money is allocated there when at the same time we don't have the funds to maintain our current parks. Why is there money set aside to obtain new parkland?
In case of an emergency that we have. The last time we used that money, I believe, was 2 years ago when we were reopening the pool, and we used it for a fence, to repair the fence. It's not there to just for the recreation. Again, we've had this discussion. We don't have, even if we had money to put in a park, we don't have the manpower to continue to do the park. You come to a ton of meetings, you know what we're trying to do on Erie Road. My same concern there is, it's $1 million project, and if somehow that group gets $1 million to fix that park, how do we maintain it? And that's the bottom line in this city for all our residents. We get complaints that we can't maintain things, so we've done 3 different things. We went with the YMCA with the pool. That was a big issue in 13, so we worked with the Y and got the pool up and running again. We were gonna, after the last levy failed, we were gonna shut down the community center. Again, we went to an outside entity with EPAL and worked it out. For those who don't know things about the dollar in government, I'll bring that up because I've had been going back and forth with one resident this week. We rent the senior center from the Will Eastlake schools for $1, so our senior center can be in there. Again, I've asked the one person who keeps going, do you think that's fair, or should Will Eastlake say, why should we give Eastlake for $1? Why don't we say, hey, we're helping, but now we want the city to give us $5,000 a month to use the senior center. We lease the corner of Lakeshore and Erie from First Energy for $1, where the festivals used to be. We lease the seawall that a lot of our residents use for $1. Again, it's not out there saying we need to make money. And I guess my final point that I brought up was, and I hope it comes out good, is, you know, we've gone to the residents, and I'll bring back the pool in 2013 because that was a hot topic during the year of 2013. We went to the ballot, and it was $1.27, $1.25, $1.27 a month to keep the pool open, knowing we'd run the pool, and that levy failed. So again, the residents don't want us to, they don't want to give any other money, and I understand that, I'm okay with that. But again, we're trying to think outside the box and go to outside entities to help us. So when we say the Croatian Lodge isn't here to help us, or it's for their constituents only, or it's for the lodge, what we're seeing them is, they've been here a long time. Their employees pay us their 2% income tax. The lodge pays their property taxes, and for us to continue to be out there on some of the websites saying, this is a deal, this is a behind-the-door deal, this is that deal, as the law director said, this has been going on since October. The steam keeps going, and you know, we want to, again, say another 2 weeks, so we can do whatever we're going to do out there. But again, everyone at this table has done their due diligence. We've sat down, there are no backdoor deals, this is what we believe is best for the city at this point in time. And again, the term of the agreement, I hope in 15 years that we have a turnaround and people are going to say, we want to get back around the city and we want to get the city up like the surrounding cities. That's the bottom line. I mean, we run on shoestrings for the money, and everyone in this room probably knows that. I mean, it's not like we're just saying, hey, we're all upset because we can't get something passed. I'm okay with that. But we're running how we can run. And if we want things not to look bad in this city, and this is what I've tried to do, saying we're going to do with these parks, then this is what we're doing. I mean, the alternative is we don't go with them, and I've told, and again, it's not a slight. We have a beautification committee. I'm not in agreement with them. They just say, hey, we're going to come to City Hall, we're going to clean it. And I've said the same thing with the group. It's not a slight. It's just, I mean, and I think if you were on our side of the table, you would say, hey, how are we going to get an agreement about moving on ahead? I asked on Thursday's meeting with Byron, well, if phase 1 doesn't go and phase 2 doesn't come about, what's your backup plan? There was no backup plan. I mean, and I know it's out there that people believe that we're picking on this group. We're not picking on this group. The Croatian home has been here 30 years. Financially, am I going to tell them to give us our books, give us the records? Do you think they're going to walk away? I don't. You know what? I give them credit for staying intact with us for the last 6 months, trying to get through this. And that's as good as I can say it. I mean, we're not trying to do anything to slight our residents. We're trying to get things here that we don't want to pay for ourselves. And that's the bottom line. Thanks.
Anybody?
Jessica Trevisano, 34186 Waldmer Drive. First, I want to just compliment Mike Zarin. I think that the terms in the lease that he suggested are helpful terms that make the lease more favorable for the city and put the city in a better position in 15 years. So I'm happy that those were included, and I hope that the ACL agrees to those terms. And if not, I guess that's up for you guys to decide what to do it. Second, I just have a question, and this is just a lingering question that I think a couple people have asked, Mr. Kasunik asked, is what is the cost of maintaining Central Park for this city?
It doesn't come to cost, and it's like, and I'll use the other one that upsets people, when we eliminated the leaf pickup. It has nothing to do with cost, it has to do with bodies. We have 6 people daily in the service department to do all the catch basins. If you notice, we're not doing catch basins, to do all the pothole repairs, to do everything. The cutting of the grass, and again, was brought in, I got an email that we should cite ourselves. We can't keep up with the grass right now and what we have, and it doesn't go to cost, it goes to bodies. There is no that our employees are a set cost. So it's not about a cost saying, hey, it costs us. We don't keep track of man hours per every job that they do here. We just don't. And I don't believe any other city does. So it's about bodies. It's not about it costs us $30,000 to maintain. I mean, it did cost us $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to keep the community center open. That was one of the reasons that would have went down. And EPL takes care of all the maintenance and everything else. So it isn't about the cost, it's about manpower more than anything on all our parks. And that's why we can't keep up, with everything that's going on in the city. And that's one of the reasons the beautification committee was formed, to try to take care of the corners and City Hall. And they've done a good job, and we're happy with that. So hope that answers it.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else in the audience who would like to address council? Name and address for the record, please.
Bob White, 35299 Beach Park Avenue. You had mentioned they're doing the catch basins. You tell me there's no cost on what each basin costs to rebuild?
Yes, there is.
What's the cost for one?
I don't have the total number. We are in the Lake County water, stormwater plan now, so we get reimbursed by the county for everything that we're doing. It's no cost in the city from out of the general fund.
Okay, you had mentioned there's 6 workers and they're all doing catch basins?
Now, they do,
Because there were 6 workers standing around one catch basin every single day this week.
okay. Which street?
Stevens and Willow Drive. When I was in the trades, 3 people would set 10 to 15 a day. And I've seen maybe 2 done in a week.
We'll bring it up with the service director.
That's a waste of money. And the attorney keeps saying little or no cost to Eastlake to put this to ACL. How is little cost? There should be no cost. If anything, we should get revenue from it. He said it more than one time, little to no cost.
I think the answer is no cost. So, there's no cost in the city.
Is it in there?
Yeah.
I think we should table this lease until it's in there then.
It's in there.
Just like, well, you need to table it till the city can read the lease, the residents can read this lease. None of us have seen this lease. We don't know what's really in there.
Anybody else in the audience who would like to address council?
Wait, and I wasn't done.
Okay.
And he had mentioned, when he was asked if this would still be public property afterwards. If he signed with the ACL, he said yes, so that means I can go in there anytime and play soccer with my kids on those fields?
No.
Then that's not public. That's private.
Is that, and I'll give an example, because I've also given this example. Can you go and play football on Eastlake North football field?
Yeah, 'cause I can go run track up there if I want to. I run up and down them steps 3 nights a week. North's football field and track is open to all city residents whenever the North is not using it.
I will talk to them
I
again,
went
'cause
there at
actually just-
midnight and
actually
run
just
up
talked.
and down the steps and around the track. So yes, I can.
Thank you.
So he still didn't, and so the answer is no, so therefore it's not public. So his answer to him was false. It is not public.
I don't, if you want me to picture, I will, I don't think I need
No,
to make my
it's not
answer for you.
necessary.
The answer was false.
Any other unless you have additional,
No.
any other residents?
Yes, my name's Sheila Trevisano, 34540 Stevens Boulevard. I'm a resident of Eastlake. I've been here about 35, 40 years. I think trust is a very, very big problem within the city, with the stadium being thrown down them. And I'm just telling you right now, with this going through, how many residents do you have in the city of Eastlake?
18,577.
I'm gonna guarantee you right now, you maybe have 500 that know about this, and they're gonna be outraged. This is not for our city residents. Plain and simple. I mean, it sounds great, and it's gonna benefit, look pretty for who? For the Croatian Center. I mean, it's all good. But if you would have sold this lot, this 7 acres, you know how much taxes that is, if a development was supposed to go in there? And you say that the tax and the levy hasn't gone through. You know why? Because people don't trust council. They don't trust our city anymore. You don't think we want a beautiful city? They're worried about the long term with that stadium. They're worried about who's gonna pay for all those repairs in 15 years. It got rammed down their throat. And I'm telling you, that's why these levies aren't getting passed. And when they find out about this, you aren't gonna get no more levies passed. What's the rush? Why can't you make sure you slow down with this and wait till you put it through? The Gazette, I've talked to so many people, they have no idea. And I'm warning you, they're gonna find out about this and they're gonna freak out. It's too early, and the Croatian Center has even admitted they cannot use these fields right now. No, this season's too late. What is the rush? Slow down, like he's saying, make sure everything is properly done. We got a stadium up there, and you know as well as I do long term, there's gonna be maintenance on that, a lot of things. You're gonna come back to the city residents again? They're gonna freak out. They would rather have recreation, they'd rather have parks than to worry about those things later. And many people drive by other communities and see the beautiful parks, pools. That's why your levies aren't passing, because they think you do backroom deals. And I'm not saying you are, nobody is. But really, be honest, this has not been published enough. This has not been published enough. You think it has with all you here? A lot of people don't come here. They
There's
don't.
been 5 articles in the News Herald on this. 5 articles. It's been all over social media. We have had public meetings for 5 months. We cannot go door to door and tell each resident what we're doing every time we make a decision. That's not practical. And quite frankly, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. It is the responsibility of each resident in this city to know what's going on with their government. We do everything we can with all the resources we have to keep every resident informed. Everything we have is at the public library. You can go to any director, you can go to the police department, the service department, the fire department. Those directors will sit down and they will talk to you and they will answer every single question you have. That's a directive from the mayor. They are to answer all your questions. We are the most transparent community you will ever find.
I'm not saying
I'm
you're not.
speaking. You can ask Mr. Trevisano. He's asked public records requests from Willoughby City Hall. They don't respond. We respond timely. We've given him stacks of information. This community, this city council was not involved in the stadium deal. We were not here when DiLiberto made those decisions, okay? I got an email today, somebody saying there's gonna be $8 to $10 million worth of improvements to the stadium at the end of the lease. I read back to her, where did you get that information? You know what she told me? It's common sense. We would know. We would know. We would have those conversations somewhere. They don't exist because they haven't happened. Sorry, that's me. So, okay? So I'm just trying to tell you, nobody is hiding anything. Nobody is hiding, and I am personally offended by that.
Well, I'm just
So
telling
I'm
you,
just
when it
saying.
happens during the winter, a lot of people aren't out and about.
They
really
should be
not
home
as
reading
well.
their newspapers.
And
They
what I'm
could get the
saying too,
information.
There hasn't been no big forum, why didn't you
Hold
put a
on,
big
hold on,
article
hold
on
on,
Eastlake
one second.
Gazette?
people
A
aren't.
big article.
I'm just saying, a lot of people do want to see levies go through. I'm just cautioning, really, I'm a resident. I pay tax, you work for me. I'm just saying, I know what the feedback is. You know, and I'm for beautification and all that too. Everybody wants to see all that. But, you know, it's not like you're putting in soccer fields and doing this or something to some, you know, that's gonna benefit all the residents. And that's where I'm just scared, you know, it's not something that's directly gonna benefit our children and residents. I mean, you think that, long-term, if they get in there and they have that, that's really to benefit them and the Croatian Center and their groups. I mean, it's all good. But when you do this in October, you know, and when I made a comment to her, I said that, the Croatian Center has even admitted, they're not gonna be able to start up anything this year, it's too late. It would take them another year, that's all I'm commenting on. You know, I just heard a lot of people, they've questioned our soccer fields down here by the electrical fields, and they're just like, what? We don't.
You know, I think as far as, but just so that there's, the minutes are clear, as far as the Croatian Center, I think you're right, they said they won't be able to use anything this year.
Yeah.
But that's because they need the summer to do what they have to do. So anybody that's gonna read the minutes, I mean, the Croatian Center is gonna have to invest in architectural surveying to figure out where the property's gonna go, the slopes of the property, the drainage.
Sure.
So they have to do all that stuff, and then what they'll tell you is apparently, I mean, and the Trevisanos were there, they heard the explanation about all this stuff and about the special type of grass they use because it makes the fields better compared to, you know, other facilities. So I think what they were saying is, if they're lucky, maybe the end of this season, probably spring of next year, before those fields would be usable. So, you know, what we need to do is, having sat on it for 6 months, is, you know, if we're gonna move forward, they need this before they make whatever the investment is in engineering and all that stuff, which they would need to start to do to start to improve it. So you're right, in the sense they can't use it this year, but the first bottleneck is this lease agreement to know whether they can start making those investments.
And like I said, it's just as I'm a resident, I just don't want the rest of my residents that I live with in my community to feel like, oh, here's another thing that was quickly slipped in. You know, and I understand what you're all saying, and I'm not saying nothing behind it, but the winter, I'm just saying, ask them how many residents are in the city. And if you you go around, a lot of people really don't have a
It's the
clue.
nature, I mean, it's the nature of government.
And then again, I know, you're saying you can't send out flyers to everybody and go knock on the doors, and unfortunately, people are just saying what they're saying, and I'm here, I'm only there myself. I don't know what to say, but
Said
this just
everything
is
was fine.
like, and then like a lot of other people comment, they go, how is this really benefiting their city? I know we're tight, I know we're on a shoestring budget.
Thank you for your comments. Sorry we gave us the 3 minutes there. Anyone else would like to address? Before I get to you, Jessica, let's see
Yeah,
if
that's
there's anybody else first. Seeing none, Jessica,
Sure. Jessica Trevisano, 34186 Waldemar Drive. I just want to, put it on the record. I mean, you guys do send flyers to everyone's door. I think that's what the Eastlake Gazette is a way for you to flyer, pretty much everybody in this city. And it wasn't mentioned in the Gazette until April. The News Herald didn't start running articles until April. That's when my letter to the editor went in, and then after that there were a couple other articles in the newspaper. It was posted on social media in February, but you guys have told me dozens of times that social media only reaches a limited number of people. So I guess I just wanted to put it out there that, sure, Angela and I knew about it in October, but that's because we do go to all of the meetings. You do have a way to tell everybody in the city, and that didn't happen.
Okay. Seeing that we don't have anybody else to speak, we had 2 proposals.
I got a question.
Okay, name.
Rob Trevisano, 34540 Stevens Boulevard.
Okay.
My question to you is, what is your issue with volunteers? Why, it's a public park. Why would you, what's your business to give it to some private entity instead of just letting the volunteers take care of the park? It's a public park. Why do you care of the cost? Why do you care about anything? It's a public park. Right now, it doesn't look bad down there at all. I've been down there. It's a park. It's grass, it's trees. It takes nothing if you get volunteers to fix ball fields. We even volunteer in little league, youth football. It's all volunteers. It's been going on for 30, 40 years. It's still there. Little league, youth football. I don't know what happened down there with softball leagues, but I know it don't sound good. People weren't, let's see how I want to put it. I think they weren't told the truth. And I don't think the city worked with them, or things were going on, backdoor. I say backdoor, because I don't like how things got pushed out and not done right. But what is your issue about volunteers? Volunteers are the greatest thing for a city. He's been here 3 months and he's got enough volunteers coming out of the woodwork to help that 7-acre park. Let people walk their dogs, go down there with their kids. And you just want to take it away just like that. I mean, that's what pisses people off. What's next? What corner are you going to take next? And then that group of people are pissed off. I mean, you guys just shake your heads. It's a big deal. I don't think you're in the best interest of the residents of this city. And just like Jessica said, there was no big, you should have had some big thing in Eastlake Gazette. Be honest, get it out there. We're thinking of this idea to do this. We like some output. There was nothing like that. You decided, you pushed it, and that was it. It was good for you, but it wasn't good for anybody else. So that's about it. I think that covers everything.
Thank you. Okay, we have 2 proposals that we had. We had the ACL and we had the ECP committee. Do we want to move the ACL proposal forward to Tuesday's meeting?
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Zurin.
I'd like to just recognize Jessica and Angelo Trevisano for all their efforts, not just for these parks, because this wasn't about one park. If you read their agreement, it was about multiple parks. This one is what we're focusing on. But they are committed to the city. I see them on the beautification committee picking up trash. I see them working on the skate park. I see all their efforts, and I just want to commend them. You know, it'd be great if there were 100 people like you in the city. But, you know, when I look at the two leases, I have to look at the Croatian Lodge, and they have been here for 20, 30 years. I'm not sure how long they've been here. They're fully funded. They have a great reputation in the city. I've been contacted by numerous members that live in my development, and they're all for the soccer field. They all have children that go to these functions, and they're all kind of shocked why this is not going through, because it is a sound business decision to go with somebody who has the financial resources, who's been here, who's committed. And although I give, you know, I'm just impressed by the Trevisanos. If you look at their lease, it's just not, the funding isn't there. I'm sure they want it to be there, I'm sure the effort is there, but if you honestly look at the leases, you'll see that the proper decision for the city is for somebody who is low risk to no risk. It's the Croatian Lodge.
Is everything for sale here?
Nothing's for sale.
Well, why is a public park for sale? Why is it even up for to give away for $1? I'll raise my hand, right to the side. I don't think 30 minutes is up yet.
Were you here when I answered the question about the dollar through government, sir?
Well, I don't understand why you're even thinking about an idea like this. It's a public park, why do you wanna give it away?
Let me ask you this, and this, the discussion has been about us selling the property.
I don't care about selling a property, I don't care about the dollar issue, I just wonder why you,
Because they're gonna make the investment, it's just like I said about us using the senior, or the schools for a senior center. Do you think that they should charge us an amount of money to use their building?
are you gonna come every time someone comes with an idea, are you gonna,
That's
I mean,
not
it's
it,
a park.
Mr. Trevisano.
It's a park.
It just isn't.
You're gonna take, how's that guy, if he can't even get in there, if it's fenced in, he lives one street away.
Hold on, sir. First of all, I want to make it clear that they have made it clear to us that they won't probably have the fences around it, but the gates will be open and the public can go cutting through there.
And it's not the whole park.
And it's
It's
not-
not the whole 7 acres, it's
And
roughly
then
half of the park.
you have no final lease, we don't know
No, it's
anything.
not, it's the whole thing, it's all 7 acres.
It's not all 7 acres.
Hold on, okay.
You have no final lease, you have nothing in front of us. You know, you say one thing and then, you know, down the road, things can
Sir,
happen.
Hold on, okay. Let's get back to where we were at. Mike, did you have any further comments?
My comment was the fenced-in area is not the whole park that's there. There'll still be the playground, there'll still be the skate park, and one of the ball fields isn't being affected, so it is not the whole park, just to clarify that.
As there was before committee, do we want to move this forward to Tuesday's meeting?
I move to move it forward for a third